Rohan Munasinghe is a senior professor in the University of Moratuwa. He is working in the field of robotics and systems control in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. He is a visiting fellow at the Cornell University, USA, and also he was the former director, University Business Linkage Cell at University of Moratuwa. He is working in this steering. He's a member of the steering council of the National Innovation Agency, and also steering committee member of the Center for Research and Development, Ministry of Defense. And also he served at National Science Foundation, NERD, ACCMT on different capacities. He has several patents and he's a PCT holder. He has incorporated the drone startup at the University of Moratuwa incubator. So without taking much time, I would like to invite Professor Rohan Munasinghe to start his talk on engineering innovation. Over to you, Professor Rohan Munasinghe.
Thank you, Professor Deni. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. It's a pleasure to be able to engage with you this evening and share my thoughts on engineering innovations for a sustainable society. I hope you can see my screen, and I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes.
Right. So I've been an academic for a long time, but since recently, 2013-14, I made a big decision. This country needs not research papers, but products and services that can actually go into the society, successful businesses, and you can create wealth, right? So since then, now it's like about 8 years, I've been working more closely with the industry partners and the other experts in the intellectual property field, business developers, etc., locally and abroad. And I've been to Cornell Entrepreneurship, Cornell Technology Licensing, and I learn a lot of things from very senior people there. Some have experiences actually fighting against very big companies like Google on patent-related matters. So that experience was really helpful for us to build our own systems locally. So my today's talk, I thought of taking this innovation thing and try to connect the rest, all the pieces together, and how we want to handle our innovation for the benefit of this country. So I will not be talking about nitty-gritties of innovation, how to do innovations, what it takes, and all, because I think most of you guys, you have been innovators at some point of time, and you have been developing certain things, right? And probably some of you may have actually tried to develop your inventions into products and maybe part of startups. So therefore, I think what we need to do today, very important day, the biggest day for engineers, is to look at the big picture. What are we missing in our system? So that what makes engineers, as Mr. Chairman pointed out, lacking certain skills to getting these innovations right into the market and to make a big impact. So I also agree with what Mr. Chairman shared with us. In a way, because of that weakness in engineers, we are backseaters, probably, right? So we have not been able to leverage our real potential. Actually, engineers are the most talented people in this country. Okay, so but are they playing a front leading role in this country? No. So there are reasons you can to finger in various reasons, but I think we have to look at inward and see for ourselves. Okay, what are we missing and how we can change it. So my talk will be oriented along that direction. All right. So first, let me show you the lineup for today. If I take too long, Professor Deni, please give me a reminder. I hope I will stick to the timeline. So first, I will talk about innovation. how to understand what an innovation is, right? Then why innovation is important, right? So we'll talk about that also. Um then number three, innovative nation. How can we transform Sri Lanka into an innovative nation? So my talk will be mostly focused on Sri Lankan context. Okay, I think that is what we need to do this situation. Then I will take on the entrepreneurial nation. Are we entrepreneurial? I don't think so. So without transforming our population into an entrepreneurial nation, that mindset, right? It will be very hard to get the real outcome from our innovations, right? Because innovations cannot flourish on its own. You need to have entrepreneurial mindset, right, around that innovation to turn into a product and to a successful business, right? Yeah, finally, monitoring the innovation field. So we need to have some sort of overarching system to monitor what's happening in this country in terms of innovation. Because I think we have been accused some way, like university professors and inventors, researchers, by different people at the government institutions, saying that they are pumping money for research and they are not getting anything out there. Right? So we need to figure out what's happening for that funding and why are we not getting a tangible outcome. We know why, but we need to have some system to make it very clearly visible to everybody. Right. So what are the metrics? What are the aspects of an innovation? So I will revert to patent view. That is one of the best ways to look at an innovation and figure out what is innovation and what is not. So there are three aspects, right, you can use to differentiate an innovation from a non-innovation. One is the novelty, the first one. There should be a novelty in your thing to call it an innovation, right? And it should be something the world has never seen before, right? So everything that the world has never seen before is not an invention. So this is a necessary condition, but not sufficient, all right? So yes, number two, that is innovative step. There should be some sort of creativity that you put on the device. For example, this is in some sort of value addition. We call it creativity, right? So you use existing knowledge, existing designs, right? What others have developed. It's perfectly all right. We do this all the time. But rather than just simply integrating them, what we do is we are integrating, but we put something on our own. And that is the innovative step, all right? So we have to figure out what is that thing, what is that little thing that we created on our own. And that is called the innovative step, all right? And for your invention to be called an invention, that innovative step should be really significant. It shouldn't be something very small, right? Then, of course, we can understand that this could be done by anybody. Why you? Why is it only you, right? To be identified as the inventor if this little thing could be done by anybody else, right? It's very simple. So, what about simple integration? In engineering, we do integration and we prefer it that way. Why do we do research if you can solve the problem by simply integrating existing devices, systems, components, etc., right? By all means, go for it. That's fine. But let us not call it as an invention. Okay, right. And the third one is the industrial use. So whatever you build, you do, right? There should be some sort of use. It should solve a solution in the society. It should be something somebody would like to pay money for, right? To get that service. Otherwise, it's not useful. Nobody wants it. So then again, why do we call it an invention, right? Even though it is novel, the world has not seen it before. It's really innovative. Can't be built by a normal person who is good in that particular field, maybe whatever field in engineering, right? Still, it doesn't have any use. Nobody wants it. So it's not called an invention. Okay, right. So let me show you one invention, right? So what you see on screen here, right? So let me open it up. This one. I hope you can see the video, right? What is it? It's a bicycle on water by a company, and the name of the product is Menta 5. Some of you may have seen it, and some of you might say, wow, you want one, right? To ride your bike on water. So this has a few blades running underwater, and they are aerofoils, meaning when they move underwater, generate a lift because of the shape of the aerofoil. To generate that lift, you need to pedal it at a certain speed, okay? And there's a propeller here which pushes it forward as you pedal it. Or if you want to get a little additional power, there's an electric power system to get you initial acceleration. So like this, it's a bit difficult to get the speed. Once you get the speed, you're actually flying, riding on the surface of the water, okay? Right. So I'm not going to play it all. You got the idea, right? So what is this? This is some sort of integration, isn't it? So the aerofoils, how they generate lift and all that when they're moving through fluid, they're all known to everybody, right? Starting from Johann Bernoulli, right? It's nothing new. Nobody can get a patent for that. And bicycling, right? It's also very old patent, and everybody knows it. But when you put these two together, right, there is some innovative step, some creativity, right? The world has not been able to do this for centuries, probably, right? So patent examiners decided, okay, this is really innovative. The step is good, so granted the patent. It's a US patent. You can see it over here. So now, if you look at the patent document, there are certain things you need to pay attention to, right? The inventor, there are a few inventors here, right? The names are there. And a patent is filed, the invention is protected in number of countries like Japan, China, and the European Union, and few other countries, okay? So that is the second thing. And if you go down on the list, you can see the patent was filed in 2015, and it took about 2 years, right? Less than 2 years actually, to for the US patent office to grant the patent, right? The patent was granted in 2017. So this is the timeline it takes for the patent litigation, for the examiner to go through this and figure out how novel and how inventive this. And the status is active. This patent is active because the patent holder, I think you can see the holder here. This one, application filed by Schiller Sports Incorporated, right? This is the company. This company is the owner of the patent, but the real inventors are these people. All right, it's very much so. In Sri Lanka also now, if we decide, if we have a patent based on our student projects funded by the government, the owner is the university, but our names are there as the inventors. And also we have the first right to refuse if you want to commercialize this invention. Okay, so we have this system in Sri Lanka. So status is active, right? Which means this company is actually paying the subscription fees for maintaining the patent, and they can do it for 20 years. So you can see 2035 is the anticipated expiration. So after 2035, anybody and everybody in this world, right, can, this design is available on the internet, right, online available. You can download it and duplicate it, no problems at all. So it's legally public after 20 years, which means after 2035. So this is how the innovations are actually turn into products and commercialize it. Successful business, this company is doing good business, right? They're selling these products, right? I don't think this is a low price tag item. It's an expensive item, and they're making a lot of profit out of that, and they can do it for 20 years, right? So they monopolize. Right. Okay. So this is how inventions work, right? And how different companies, meaning really those countries, right, get benefited out of the inventions. All right. So therefore, I have a little advice to all of us, particularly for the young people, maybe some of those students, colleagues who are doing research and all. So I want to let everybody know this. Before embarking on invention or think about patenting, right, you need to look around and see for yourself what are the similar products out there, right? So you can go to these free patent databases, like for World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO database, which is Patent Scope, or you can just simply go to Google patents, or else you can go to eSpaceNet. This is European Patent Office database, and or else you can go to USPTO database and figure out, right? These are all free databases. What are the other similar patents similar to your invention, right? Otherwise, you will be doing something somebody has done years ago, and somebody is owning a patent, and you can't do anything about it, right? So, and it will be very, very unfortunate if you do something like that. And in addition to these free patent databases, there are other things like IEEE, Innovation Q Plus, or Clarivate, or PadSnap. These are all commercial databases, and it's kind of expensive. Right. Now, the next thing we need to decide is that, okay, now let's say we have an invention, right? And before we decide to get a patent, there are a few things that you need to examine very carefully, right? Say your invention is novel, that's fine, and really innovative, there's an innovative step, and industrially useful, somebody wants to use that one, right? That's all fine. And also, before you decide to go for a patent, you need to check whether there's anybody who would want to pay for the commercialization process. Okay, as you saw in the water bike thing, it took about 2 years or more than that from the initial patent to the product. So during that couple of years, right, there's a lot of money that you need to put into this production, right? To turn it basically from your initial prototype POC to the product. Okay. So if you don't have that kind of plan, you're taking a risk going for a patent, right? If it is a small money, you can anyway pay for it and get the patent. But if it is costly to maintain it, right, then you might think not to go for a patent. So I cannot say which way you need to take, but I'm just guiding you for your thinking, right? Right. So because I know some people actually go habitually for patenting, right? They want to get patent and that's it. No, patenting is just one step for you to secure your patent for your invention, right? So that you can ask people, okay, if there's anybody who wants to commercialize it, right, get a license from me. Okay. So it is for that purpose. Now, why innovation is important, right, for a country. Because innovations lead to new products. We saw in that video how that innovation led to a product and successful business. So create new market. Before this, there was no such water sport. There was no such hobby. Nobody ever thought of cycling on water until they see this, right? So you create new needs, new hobbies, new way of life, new markets, and then you have to supply for the demand. So you need to expand your business, you create jobs for people, and you create wealth out of that. Okay, so that is how you develop, how countries develop. And if you look at the stats, you can see development of nations are highly correlated with the innovativeness and the ability to commercially deploy innovation. So there are two things. You can be very innovative, but you don't know how to turn that innovativeness or inventions into products and services commercially. I think as a nation, we are weak in that. But innovativeness is there in our blood, in our genes, to some extent, right? So therefore, the second part is missing. Therefore, we cannot actually exploit on our innovations, right? They go to a certain level and they get awarded certificates, trophies, and that's end of the journey. But actually, the real tangible journey starts from there onwards. I how to turn into a commercial product and successful business. So if you want to look at the innovations and the development, right, the best place to go for is the Global Innovation Index, right, GII. The report was out for the last year, and you can see these countries, top 10 most innovative economies in the world, right? So undoubtedly, these Switzerland, US, Sweden. So Switzerland has been there, right, since probably days of Einstein, right? It's a very innovative uh, nation, Switzerland, very smart thinkers and all, right? And all of the other countries. So there's no need to explain anything on that list. If they are innovators, if they are innovative, they are developed countries, right? So there's no question about it. So the innovativeness is key, but we have to use that key to open the door. So that is what we are missing. Not only us, but most of the other developing countries, third world, they're lacking that capability, how to handle this key, right? And I want you to pay your attention to this graphics also. This is coming from the World Intellectual Property Organization. This is one of the places you must visit frequently to get you updated. This is patent filing profiles, right, country-wise. You can see China is topping there, right? China was not on this list, though, the previous list, most innovative. But if you look at the most recent activities going on in China, right, they are the biggest nation in the world in terms of patent filing. And you might ask me, oh, okay, anybody can file, but if it's not granted, what's the point? But the thing is, from filing to granting, it takes about 2 years. So therefore, you cannot get these figures on top of each other, right? It's impossible. So therefore, we'll go by the assumption that filing somewhat proportional, right? It's not very correct to granting. So anyway, China is leading, and you can see these two circles, the empty one and the filled one. Empty one is 2020, and the filled one is 2021, right? Red and black, don't worry about that. So China is not only topping the list, right, with the 1.5 million filing, right, but it's increasing at a rate of almost 6% a year. And whereas if you look at US, it's actually slightly dropping, but I don't think it's actually dropping. We can say it's level, okay, about 0.6 million patents. And all the other countries, Japan, Korea, this is European Union, and India also there, right? India is developing, right? So this resonates with what we know about the world, what we know about China, what we know about India, Korea, Germany, right? So it's telling us the same thing. Innovation, you saw in the previous slide, this is patenting, right? So they're telling the same thing. You have to innovate, you have to get patents, you have to protect your invention, right? And then commercially deploy. Uh, that's how the countries develop these days, not by selling coconut rubber or minerals or whatever, or sending people to housekeeping overseas. No, this has to change, and engineers will have to lead the way. Engineers have to break the shackles, right? And be a bit more aggressive if you want, right? If you have to, and we have to settle the matters, right? Once and forever for this country. So now let us focus onto the problem. What is the problem? Commercial exploitation of inventions. That is what we are lacking. So that is why I decided, in being an academic for a very long time, I firmly decided I want to shift the track, shift the gears to this field, knowing that this is much more difficult. It will reduce my research paper toll. In fact, I used to publish at least about 2 high-ranked journals a year. And for the last 5, 6 years at least, I was not able to maintain that pace, right? Because I switched gears to the other side, which is not actually research paper driven practice. So let's talk about this one. If you have a commercially viable innovation, right, but not qualified for a patent, so what is it? Is another combination, right? We know pretty sure this is commercially viable, but you can't get a patent for that, because essentially what we have done is maybe it's not very novel, or it's lacking inventive step, right? One option you have here is that keep your invention as a trade secret. Don't tell it to anybody, right? Only you know it, and go for businesses, right? Start up or transfer the technology securely, and somebody is producing it and selling it, and you're making money out of it, right? So this is what Coca-Cola is doing. There's no patent for Coca-Cola, the recipe, the formula, but you know what they're doing, right? They're selling all over the world and making huge amount of money of the company, right? So there's a little risk going like that as a trade secret, but it will give you additional advantages over patenting. For example, patent laws gives you protection only 20 years. After that, there's no protection. Okay. Whereas if you do convert your innovation or invention to a business as a trade secret, there's no such limit. You can do it forever, right? Now, if I talk about trade secret part, right? Let's say it's a simple formula. You mix two chemical agents together and produce something, and it's a magical formula, right? Maybe a medicine or something, or maybe energy drink or whatever, and people like it, and you have a business, and you don't take a patent so that it's open. Somebody can actually do a chemical analysis, figure out how much of A and how much of B, and mix it up. Bang, right? You lose your business. Now everybody can do that. So for that, you need to take a patent, definitely, right? But on the other hand, let's say you mix the two agents together, A and B, but you don't get the magical formula, right? You have to heat it to a certain level and cool it and shake it and put it in the deep freezer for so many hours and get it back. And there's a process. Okay. That process can be kept as a secret, so that when you get the magical formula after the process, right, you can sell it without a patent. And anybody who looks at that formula, try to chemically analyze it, they get A and B, but when they mix it, they don't get the formula you have, because the formula comes at the end of a process. As long as the process is kept secret, right, you're fine. So you have to think about that. Which one is good for a patent? Which one is not good for a patent? All right. So the tech giants, including none other than Elon Musk, they're deciding, okay, which one of their inventions go for a patent, which one goes as a trade secret. So when you have trade secrets, you have to secure it. You have to take steps to secure it, right? You hire people to do this product development or manufacturing. So write agreements. Nobody is allowed to take this formula out, take the secrets out of your company. Nobody is allowed to do business similar to whatever you are doing. All these contracts are there so that people who are inside, they can't simply take your secret out. If they do that, you have legal grounds to sue them. All right. Right. So much for the inventions and patenting and uh, do business of that. So let's talk about as a nation, right? An innovative nation. This is what we want to be, right? We have been an innovative nation for a long time, right? In our history, say that, and for some reason we are not anymore a very innovative nation. That is the bitter truth. Uh, so for a country to be really innovative, we need to have basics, okay, not the cosmetic wrappings, right? You need to have the core. If you look at USA, for example, very innovative. They are just second to Switzerland in the global innovative index. All right. Why? If you figure out why, right, there are very clear things that you can find. One is they have this one, Bayh-Dole Act, right? Before 1980, USA was having troubles in the innovation field. But after that, after 1980, they had a very smooth ride, if you look at the history. Just because of this Bayh-Dole Act. What is it? Bay and all, they are two senators, right? They put up this act to the Senate and got it approved. And it tells how the government spend funding, right, for research, and who is the owner of the research outcome, and how to commercialize this research, etc., etc. Right? So this is a very powerful act. So in simple terms, US government, right, funds research, and you can be a professor in one of the universities there, and you do research, you get funding, but the government owns your invention. You are identified as the inventor, right? But owner is the state, the federal state, or the state government, or the university. So university has the right to commercialize the product. Whereas in Sri Lanka, there's no such thing. Very clear difference. Our universities, our R&D centers, they get funding, they do research, they don't know who the owner is, right? If the professor or the researchers, right, they're willing to do commercial deployment, they can do that. Otherwise, there's no directive, there's no requirement to do it that way. And if they don't want to commercially deploy their inventions, then they make out of the state funding. That's end of the road for that one. The money is just wasted. That's why a lot of people accuse the universities and the research centers why we are funding, right, annually. Because there's no owner, there's no process. What if the principal investigator does not proceed to commercialization, right? The universities, the research centers, they don't have a mechanism to take it and deploy themselves, right? Until very recently. Now things are changing a little bit through the university system, but the research institutions are still at the same level. There's a big question mark, uncertainty. What is happening after the research part? Right? There's what is the mechanism for commercialization of research activities? Big question mark. So we have to fix this problem for the country. I think ISL is in a good position as the apex body of engineering in this country, right? I suggest by all means to take this up as a priority and combine with other stakeholders who are working in this domain and try to press the government with a proposal to come up with some sort of act similar to Bayh-Dole Act. So that is the national level. Then there are other things. National innovation ecosystem. Do we have an innovation ecosystem in this country? Yes and no. Uh, it's only just beginning to have one. So I'll show you what it is. And what I really mean by innovation ecosystem is something that offers the inventors in the entire country a customized support on call. Why on call? Every individual is a different or very specific, unique on a unique path, right? If you are an inventor, you are developing an innovation and try to make a product out of that. Your journey is different to another inventor. So they should be supported as they go. It's a customized service. So we need to have some mechanism to offer whatever he needs, right? On the way, as and when he requires that service. So we need to build one. It's essential. And second one, the innovation system needs to guide the inventor through the journey, because the inventor doesn't know a lot of things about the entire process. Maybe he's a good in technology. He can put things together and create something, but he doesn't know how to turn this invention into a product. Okay. So somebody has to guide. So we need to get this guidance. Okay. Third one, the national innovation ecosystem is to improve the success rate of innovations. As you know, if you look at, say, 100 innovations, out of that 100, maybe only 5%, right, see the finish line, end up as a successful business, as products and services. 95 of them fail in the process. That is the current stats. So we need, this is not good. This is really unhealthy. It's not sustainable. But these are real figures, right? Not only in Sri Lanka, in many other countries, right? Except for the very highly innovative countries on that list, all the other countries, they have very low success rate, right? So we need to improve this success rate to about 30, 40 at least, right? So this is another requirement to build national innovation ecosystem. So we have been working on this for some time now, last 1.5 to 2 years. This is what we are building right now. If you look at that one, you can see the inventor and a mentor here. So we try to make this online platform and we connect the inventor to a mentor. So mentor is a senior person who is who knows how to turn this invention into a product, okay, generally speaking. Then there are other services around. What are the other services? Sometimes you need equipment and the inventor doesn't have his own equipment. He need to access the other equipment. So there should be equipment accessible to him, right? And sometimes he need skills, specific skills. Like, for example, he wants to design an electronic control system, right? A circuit board. And there should be people, freelancers, right, who can help the inventor, right, on that. Sometimes the inventor needs to check whether this invention is really novel or patentable, and he doesn't know how to do that. There should be experts in that area, prior art search and patent drafting, to give that support to the inventor. And sometimes you need money, funding, investment to scale up. So there should be some sort of investor network. And sometimes you need legal support. He doesn't know about the legal stuff around this invention, right? If somebody steals it, what to do? And he needs to sign contracts with the investors. What are the terms, right, in that agreements, right? So he doesn't know that, and we need to provide legal support, right? And also how to start up this one, business support. If the inventor wants to have a startup, how to incorporate a startup. Maybe he has to learn all these things, right? That's not very healthy. So we need to have this business support network to give that support to the inventor. So this is what we have foreseen about almost 2 years now, and we have been working on this initial framework and to make it a reality, right? So we were doing this with the National Science Foundation and NIA. So I represent National Innovation Agency on this, right? When I say we, I usually refer to National Innovation Agency and all my colleagues who are working with me. So with this one, any inventor in Sri Lanka, anywhere, right, can actually get these services through this platform. So the other thing that we did in this implementation is that we break the silos in this country to some extent. Now you can see these stakeholders of this process. We have, of course, National Innovation Agency. I'm part of that. And we have LATO. This is a new one. Maybe you have not heard of it. Lanka Association of Technology Transfer Officers. We didn't have that. But in all other developed countries, there is one. In US, they call it Autumn, and other countries, there is this Technology Transfer Officers Association, right? I'll talk about that in a while. And also we are working with ICTA, right? Because finally we want this entire software thing to be built by ICTA and maintain it. And Innovation Agency with LATO will do the operations, right? And also we have other stakeholders like National Science Foundation, the biggest funder of this country when it comes to equipment. Most of the equipment that are there in the universities and the research centers are actually NSF funded equipment. So they have a lot of equipment available, and they have made it accessible online recently. So it will be part of this equipment network, right? So what we're trying to do is, if you look at an equipment at Moratuwa University, right, which is usually closed doors, nobody can access it except the students. Right? Now it's open, it's going to be open, right? Anybody, some inventor in Jaffna can actually access this equipment. All right. It's not the remote operation or anything like that. He just called the person, custodian, and explain the requirement and make whatever payments he has to pay and send the files and all that, email it to the operator, and he will do the job and send it back to the person, something like that. Okay. And also Sri Lanka Inventors Commission is part of that, and also NIPO, National Intellectual Property Organization. So getting these people to work together is another achievement, and therefore this is now becoming a reality. National Innovation Ecosystem. So I'll show you this brief website coded by my students just to communicate the concept to the other people, because this is not something people can easily understand, right? So I built this website. I'll show it to you now. If you can see it, the National Innovation Ecosystem. I'm just going to the internet. You can see it. Now I'm there, right? This is the website. We have not published this yet. This is not operational yet. I want to get the clearance from the National Innovation Agency, Steering Council, to publish it so that people can access it. So if you are an inventor, if you are developing some innovation, right, you want to first get to the platform and describe your product here, right? Just click it and you can describe. I'm not going to do it right now. It takes time. You just explain in very simple terms what is your idea, concept, or prototype, and upload whatever files you want, right? That is number one. Of course, after signing up, you have to sign up first, right? Then what we do from the back end is that when we receive this tech brief, this is a small document, we go through it and figure out who is the best mentor for this inventor. So we have a pool of mentors, volunteers, very good people, and we pick up a person and get his consent to be the mentor for this inventor. With his consent, we communicate back to the inventor, okay, you got this mentor. These are his details, right? Please communicate with him. So then we have this inventor-mentor pairing, okay, binding. And they go to step 3 rather, right? Now there's a meeting, online meeting between the inventor and the mentor, and there the mentor looks at the invention pretty closely, right? So what they do is they prepare what is called a tech brief. Every invention needs to have a tech brief. Now I'm not talking about just invention, right, nitty-gritties, but how to bring this invention to the next level, that is as a product, and build a business around it. Okay, that is what is important today. So then the mentor figures out what readiness level is there. We call it technology readiness level, TRL, right? There's this NASA TRL levels from say 0 or 1 to about 8 or 9, okay, different levels of readiness. Whereas the lowest is just the idea, and the 8 or 9, TRL 8 or 9 is basically a well-tested product in the market, okay? So they figure out where they are, right? Where the invention is actually, and then what is to be done to bring it to the next level. So they focus on just one step. If it is TRL level 3, how to get to TRL level 4, what it takes to get it to TRL level 4. They focus on that. So then they make a brief development plan over here in that meeting or meetings. Mentor and inventor develop this plan. Okay, we'll do this first and do that second and so on. This is our journey, right? So then the inventor start the innovation journey, and you can go to the services here. If I just click it, services, okay. Now there are a multitude of services available for the inventor. He can get the equipment, right? If I just click it, I can show it to you what are the equipment available at the moment, like this, right? This is just to show, we have not put entire list over here, just one person's information. This is a technical officer who is able to operate these machines, and this is the contact details, etc. So the inventor can communicate with these people, right, on this page for various services, to get a 3D printed or to get a laser cut, CNC milling, or job, whatever, lathe, thermal forming. Different inventors, they need to access this equipment, and they don't need to get one, because there are equipment in this country already funded. And at this time of year, right, when we don't have funding for equipment, we need to give access of these machines to other people around the world through this kind of platform. Okay, right. So that's how it works. So once we have the innovation ecosystem in place, I think most of the inventions will see the journey from the invention to the product development much easier. And also they have to eventually write down the diary. There's a diary. They write every step of the way, what they do, what works for them, but not and everything, for us to figure out how it works. Now, the third thing to be a really innovative nation is this. We need to have every R&D institution, universities, etc., an institutional innovation ecosystem. So what I explained you earlier is the national level, okay, national level system. But we need to have more localized innovation ecosystem wherever it is possible. This is not possible everywhere, but some big universities, R&D centers, surely they need to have this mechanism. So let me explain this very briefly, how it works. This is something we developed at Moratua, and also other universities in this country, the 17 state universities, they have something similar to this, okay? So when we developed this, we had only 3 faculties, so that's why you see 3 faculties, right? Engineering, IT, and Archi. They have different departments in their faculties, and in some of these departments there are labs, and these labs, there you have some groups, students and professors working together, trying to develop an innovation. Probably they are targeting a product out of that, right? So they are over enthusiastic to see a product and a business around it, right? So they're doing that. So what we do as the business linkage cell of the universities to get the invention disclosed to us. So one paper, just 1 or 2 pages, we see the invention and the desire of the group to turn into a product or build up a startup around that. Then what we do is we bring industry experts, right, to the business link KSL and show them this idea or prototype, right, and get their view about the commercial viability of this innovation, all right. And if we decide, okay, they want to have a startup, we send the group to our startup incubator. We have a small incubator at Moratua, and now this group goes to the incubator if they desire that they want to have a startup. So this is what we call the first right to refuse. Okay, we don't want to sell this one to anybody if the same group has a desire, intention to develop a startup around that invention. And in the same time, we look at the patentability through our patent office. We have a very limited staff, but well trained for patent prior search. They can check all through these patent database and figure out how innovative this idea is and the possibility of getting a patent. And we do that thing in the university business linkage here. So if everything goes well, we will have a product at the end coming out of the startup incubator or a patent. All right. So through that, we can go for business and we can transfer the technology to the industry. And for that, we will work with the investors and licensees and also lawyers coming in. We have few lawyers working with us because we don't have very good legal support within the university. So we have partnered with outside experts and services for that. And also at the incubator, because these are companies, after all, like any other company, big or small, right? They need to have the other support, secretarial, human resource management support, finance, tax audit, etc. All these things can become a nightmare to the tech team, right? Because tech team is this couple of students who are technically savvy. They know nothing about a company, running a company, how to handle finance. They run into problems very easily. And that is one of the reasons why they prematurely fail. So what we do here is that around the startup, we bring those services so that the tech team can have peace in mind and focus on the tech development. All right. So this system works very well for many universities in Sri Lanka. We are working together, we are communicating each other. We have this association called LATO, I showed you in earlier slides, Lanka Association of Technology Transfer Officers. All of the universities, directors of business linkage sales, right, that group. So we share experiences, skills, lessons learned, so that everybody will have the same system in their universities. So this is the institutional innovation ecosystem. I think we need to have similar thing in other research institutions like, say, TRI, Coconut Research, MRI. So if we can build this system, right? So we elevate our national, say, a step closer to being an innovative nation. Okay, right. So now let's talk about the reality. For this institutional innovation ecosystem to work, right? It's essential that we have the blessings and support of the top administration. If you think of a university, you need to have the support from the vice chancellor and the administrator, right? Without the blessings, it will be very organic. It will happen, but it will take a long time. But unfortunately, in this country, all of the state universities, right? I'm not talking about any particular one. The vice chancellors, the top admins, they're too much into the academic and research work. And this is coming as an additional thing, right? Additional burden, additional responsibility. And this is also a bit risky than the other things. It is very natural that they have some sort of allergy to this kind of product development and commercialization, because this is actually working with money eventually, right? The inventions going out to the industry and some money is coming to the university. So handling money can be a very dirty business. But this is how the big universities in the world do their business, right? What you need is very good policies transparent mechanisms, then it's perfectly all right for universities to receive money, handle money. Without that, there's no future, right? We can't just depend on the government spending forever, right? My God, it doesn't happen that way. So we have to change the mindset and mechanize our system. Okay, if this is new entity in the university, we didn't have this until 2015, right? For Moratua and Peradeniya, we had this maybe a bit longer, about a decade, but for many other universities, it's 2015 or maybe a little later. So we need to prepare the infrastructure, system changes, so that this will also function just like your undergrad program, your research programs, right? But somehow it didn't happen in Sri Lanka. Universities get a little support. Sorry, the UBL cells get a little very organic support from the administration. So therefore, it took a little longer than what we expected. Second thing, the institutions needs to have efficient policies to encourage innovation, right? So what are these things? The institutions need to have commercialization policy. It needs to explain how the innovation or invention start, how it goes out to the industry, and what are the steps involved in the process. And as the director UBL cell 2 years ago, this is the first thing I took myself on, revamping the commercialization policy. So to tell you the truth, it was a little long time. I started this. It took 18 months, 18 months to get the approval to the policy we revamped, revised. And to tell you the truth, not a single word was changed in the policy. It was accepted as it is after 18 months. So this is the kind of time taken in the process. Should have been accepted in 4 to 6 months, right? And based on that, we do the technology transfer, and that took the first one 15 months. With the commercialization policy intact in place, on top of that, we want to transfer the technology to the industry. We need to sign an agreement. Everything is happening legally. To sign this agreement, we need to get the council approval, and it took 15 months. My God, how can we become an innovative nation? No wonder. All right. So also you need to have IP policy. So make no mistake, world over, intellectual property that is created by the university, intellectuals, students together out of state funding owned by the university. Or the same thing is true for any other R&D institution. People, individuals, right? They are not the owners. This is the policy. They are in the US and other parts of the world, 99%. Maybe 1%, one outlier, right, can have a different policy. But this is the policy world over. But the right can be transferred to any other industry partner through the contractual agreements. And the real inventors are identified by name. And whatever royalty comes through that technology transfer, part of that will go to the inventors, people who are involved. So therefore, it's very, very fair, right? We need to make this our policy, our practice in the Sri Lanka. Right? Then people will not fear to get into this process and deliberate and unleash their talents and capabilities and go on with innovation and technology transfer. Okay, we need to do this. And I think ISL can take a very serious note of it and do something about it, because otherwise we will be doing a lot of things, but there won't be any tangible outcome at the end of the day. But if you look at annual reports coming out of the institution, there are a lot of things, activities. My God, it's a long list. But if you look at what the real tangible outcome, any money made out of that, any transfer technology, then you can see, oh my God, this doesn't go with the reality. Right? It's just bunch of enumerated list of items, events, activities, seminars, webinars, training programs, documents, just that. The country needs not that, but the real outcome, okay? And also you need to have forms, NDAs. Do we have NDAs for institutions in Sri Lanka? Some may have. Universities have their own NDAs. But it's not a commonplace thing. And if you go to R&D centers and ask, do you have NDA? People sometimes look up and down. They have never heard of that, also never been the practice. So we need to change this, right? And technology transfer agreements, very common, is legally prosecuted, right? Scrutinized, and it's almost perfect document and signed by the head of the institution and the assignee of the innovation, right, or intellectual property. And also startup agreements. We have to have startup agreements coming out of the universities and R&D centers. That is the trend of the world based on their own innovations. All right. So look at all the big innovations in the world, Facebook and other things, right? They actually started in universities and garages and different places, right? And they build their companies, and we need to facilitate that. We should not inhibit or discourage these people. But of course, you have to do this in proper manner, not in ad hoc manner, right? That is why you need to have these forms, right? And we go by these agreements, policies, guidelines, etc. The system is actually in place now since 2015, right? What we need to do is to give them life to practice it efficiently. And also you need a competent legal unit in the institution. Universities, there's a legal officer, but how efficient is the legal office? Going through the NDAs, tech transfer agreements, startup agreements. So all these things happen in the legal officer's office in universities, in R&D centers. So therefore, you need to have some efficient, competent legal support in your institution. All right. Now, it is easier to say than done. To build all these things is not easy. In that case, what we can do is that if you find out any research institution or a university, there we don't have this kind of policies, competent legal support, whatever, they can actually affiliate with another university, another R&D center where you have this system up and running, right? You affiliate and get services from this university. We can easily do that if we communicate, if we make a platform to communicate. I think these are the things at stake, and we need to pay attention to. Now, we have gone a bit far, right, in the university system in this country, state universities, starting with the first 15, right? And we formed what is called Lanka Association of Technology Transfer Officers, right? Actually, we are in a way following the footsteps of US when they formed the autumn, this association of all the technology transfer officers in the US. It's a very big association now. But we are also doing something similar because it has been proven very effective. So initially, we formed this association as an interest group formed by the directors of University Business Linkage Cells. After WIPO EIE program, I think you may have heard of this EIE program, right? Ran for a couple of years. And also in 2019, 15 directors, I also was there. We had a very good training at US Patent Office, Commercial Law Development Program in Washington, and also the law school at New Hampshire, University of New Hampshire, right? So after that, all these 15 directors of the 15 universities, we formed this interest group, and we are still working very closely. We have common meetings, regular meetings, and we formed LATO, right? Now we have other semi-government and private universities also joining, right? So we can grow this network. Now the scope, the purpose of this association is to share the knowledge, skills, experiences, and good practices. Let's say if we try out something and that really worked favorably in the technology transfer, we share it with other university UPL directors so that they can adopt it. Okay, they can talk to their vice chancellors, heads of the institution, right, and adapt it very quickly. So they don't have to do the same a mistake others did, right? They can quickly learn. Uh, and we are hoping to build the innovation ecosystem in Sri Lanka. What I just explained to you, Lato has been part of that together with the National Innovation Agency. And we hope to be a helping hand for the government in their decision-making process when it comes to innovation and technology transfer, right? So these are the purpose of LATO. Now, um, you can make a good product if you have good raw materials, okay? If your input is good, your output is good as well. So we are talking about the input. Our inventors, innovators, our youth generally, are they really entrepreneurial? Are they thinking like a businessman? Mostly not, right? So we are training our students for O-level, A-level, university entrance like that. So that's okay. I have no accusation on that, but in the same time, we have to make our kids, youth think like entrepreneurs, right? Not just to run a business or whatever, but to attend to day-to-day matters, checks and balances, time management, responsibility. I think it's very essential, right, that we give some sort of kick and push to our kids, our youth about entrepreneurship. It's absolutely essential, I think. So without this entrepreneurial mindset, right, you can't build a successful business around your inventions, right? We can talk about inventions, but there won't be any commercially viable product or business around that invention if we don't think like an entrepreneur. So it's extremely important. So we took that challenge to build a national entrepreneurship development program. It's again a national level program. It's a 6-weekend program, just 6 weekends, not very heavy program, short, and anybody in this country can actually register online. It's open, hosted at University of Moratuwa. We have got the approvals from the Senate to host this program on university learning management system. And also we have got a lot of volunteer resource persons, right, to deliver different units, lessons, all right? And this program was initially developed at Moratuwa, myself and my colleagues, where many people contributed as volunteers. And also recently when I was at Cornell, I talked to Director Cornell Entrepreneurship and other faculty members at CAS, etc., and developed the program further. So when I came back, I discussed it with the NIA, National Innovation Agency people, and got the approvals. And now it is on the brink of the implementation. And you can see on screen here, the social media campaign has already been started, right? Asking our youth, our kids, anybody, right, who's interested in entrepreneurship, just register and follow the course. Probably we can offer this program in April this year. So I want to show you this program. What is in it? 6 weeks, 12 lessons. In fact, 11 lessons, right? You can see these ones here, week and the unit. So we talk about design thinking, introduction to entrepreneurship, team building, how you build your team, right? That's very essential. Market research, how to figure out your market, customer identification, who is your customer, right? And business plan development, how to build a business plan. What else? Marketing, how to build a brand around your invention. We talk about these things. Then intellectual property, right? Are you really free to operate a business, right, around that invention? Is there anybody who has done this before and who has a patent covering maybe Sri Lanka or India or wherever you want to do business? Then you are in trouble. You don't have freedom to operate, right? To make sure it's not the case and you are free to operate, you need to do this. accounting, financing, how to handle your financing, financial hygiene right from the day one, how to do that, raising capital, how to talk to investors, etc., scaling up your business, right, and labor law and relations. So of course, you hire people, employees, right? So what are the contractual agreements, how to handle people, etc. And also how to build your company for success, right? So these are the lesson titles, and we are a lot of people. You can see the description here, and some people you have heard them. Heminder Migara Amithodana from Magic Beat, Sankalpa, Prasad Samarasinga from Lanka Bell, Randura De Silva from Hatch, Fayaz, Dr. Buddhasa from Faculty of Business, Moratua, Randura De Silva again. So like that, very good people, very talented, skillful, and passionate people. So they're all volunteers. So this program will be offered a couple of times a year, and every time we will open it for probably over 500 participants. So if we run for a couple of years, probably this will help us to actually transform our society into more entrepreneurial mindset people, right? So we hope for that. Now, the bottom line is that a range of skills and knowledge are required to build a product and a business around an invention. Of course, everybody knows this, right? Just because you have a very fancy technology or invention, you don't have a business or product, right, out in the market. So there are a lot of other skills, knowledge you need to have. And of course, one cannot gather or be a master of all the entire range of knowledge and skills, right? It'll never happen. In Sri Lanka, people have tried this and they all fail. Only a very few people actually get close to the finish line. And they are masters, champions. They would do it anyway, right? But you don't see those kind of people very often, very, very rare, in fact. So with this program, they will be able to understand what it takes for me to turn my right idea into a product, and what are the steps involved, what are the things I have on my own, what are the things I don't have. So they know it, right? So they can plan for a successful journey. That's the whole purpose. Finally, annual survey. This is something we initially started. We started very I think it's about 2 years ago, but because of certain delays in the system, we were not able to implement the annual survey. So what is this? This is annual licensing activity survey, right? So this is the final step of the EIE program funded by WIPO, implemented by COSTI and other institutions, right? Now we have all 15 universities, business linkage cells running and funded by AHEAD program. We need to know who is doing what and how much R&D funds are used, and how many patents, how many licenses, how many startups, what is the royalty, all these things, right, together in one database, and then generate a brief, accurate report of what's happening. So when you read the report, you understand everything, right, the whole thing. So you can take decisions, you can look at it, what are the problems, right, and how to make it better next year, right? So this is continuous development. In Sri Lanka, we don't have this kind of regular thing, and time to time you get the data, and there's no such place, everything is properly recorded. So it's a kind of mess, right? So to solve that problem, we started working on this for 2 years now, and finally we did it for the first time in Sri Lanka this year. Just a week ago, this licensing survey was concluded. All 17 universities participated, entered their data, right? Now we can see the whole picture in the university system, right? So you can see some of the universities here, the entire list is there. This is the snapshot of what they entered to the database. It's basically R&D, investment, patents, tech transfers, royalty, etc., right? Everything, all the metrics to measure and monitor how the innovations are taking place in this country, and for us to see the entire picture and also to take accurate decisions for future, right? So the first survey, 2019, 2020, these 2 years is just over, and we will get the report very soon. And after that, NIA will finalize the report, and we will submit it to the UGC. UGC is the central authority of this data coming from the universities. They will publish it with the concurrence of the university vice chancellors. So the entire Sri Lanka will see it. So this is probably the answer to the burning question coming from various places. What are the universities doing in terms of R&D, right, of all the research funding? We can see the cross section of that the question, right? And also for the other research institutions, they have not been part of this initial survey because we want to do it first time within our ecosystem, universities, but we will expand it to the R&D centers this year, right? So that they will also be able to enter their data, and we will see the entire picture for Sri Lanka. So this is a very important part of the national innovative, to make Sri Lanka an innovative nation. These are the ABCs, right? These are the pieces that we need to have. Otherwise, people can talk about being an innovative nation, getting examples from all over the world, talk about history, the degree, etc. But what's the point? There won't be anything tangible on the ground. There won't be anything for the future. The future will still be the same as present, right? Until we be honest ourselves and look at the tangible things, what works for us, and we have to implement it, right? So we have the recipe, we just want to implement it. Now with that, I come to the conclusion. The summary goes like this. I think innovations are vitally important for a country to develop. There's no question about it. Just echoing that phrase here. The second thing, an innovation or invention can be commercialized through a patent or as a trade secret. Don't have to go habitually for patents, right? So in this country, people go like that habitually. I want to get a patent, and that's the end, just getting a patent. So it's not correct. It's very incorrect, actually. Then entrepreneurial mindset and innovativeness are the two pillars of successful technology commercialization. I think entrepreneurial mindset is very much lacking in Sri Lanka. That's one of the reasons why we don't have products and businesses around our inventions and innovations, right? We are not that bad in innovations and inventions, but we are very bad in entrepreneurial mindset. So an innovation ecosystem is critically required for a country to excel in innovation commercialization. So this ecosystem is extremely important, and frankly, we don't have one. We have built one. Now we have to put it up and running. Probably it will solve the problem. We have to wait and see. And also very important, this annual survey of tech transfer is really helpful for decision making and continuous development. So those are the summary points. Thank you very much.